This is one of 100 events that are going on across the country at the offices of 100 different lawmakers from Congress. We're not in this alone. This is a national event coordinated by the United Steelworkers, and I thank you all for coming out and supporting the event in Portland. As you all know, we're trying to bring attention to the toxic products that are coming into our country, and we're encouraging Senator Smith to support the Food and Product Responsibility Act, which will go a long ways into helping alleviate the flow of toxic products that are getting to the hands of our kids and our consumers. I'm really pleased with how this event's turned out. We've got a coalition of a lot of different groups here. Portland Jobs with Justice, Oregon Fair Trade Campaign, Sweat Free Northwest Campaign, Oregon Environmental Coalition, Steelworkers, AFL-CIO, Work in America, and I may have left one out, and if I did, I apologize. But it's been a great coordinated effort between a whole bunch of different people with different backgrounds, all fighting for the same thing. And so I'm really encouraged by the support we have here today, and I want to thank everybody that's worked really hard to make this thing come together. And with that, I will give you your first speaker. And I apologize, I don't have these all memorized, but we have Eliana Machuca from Portland Jobs with Justice.
Yeah. Jobs with Justice is, we're a coalition of over 85 different faith, labor, and community organizations that come together to fight for workers' rights. And so for us, that means fighting for health care, living wage, global justice, immigrant rights. But it's also pledgers, and it's individuals who come out to fight and support each other and struggle. So how many of you out there are pledgers, Jobs with Justice pledgers? Right on, there's a few of you out there. If you don't know, so what it is to be a pledger just means that you can come out 5 times a year for someone else's struggle or your own, and we let you know what's going on, what are the different things that are happening. We're involved in this issue because we know that this is important. It affects our families' health and safety, but it's also about the loss of jobs in the United States, and it's also about globalization and the corporate race to the bottom. These unhealthy, cheap goods that are coming in here mean that somewhere else in the world, workers are not getting paid fair wages, and they're probably being exposed to chemicals, dangerous chemicals at even higher rates, and really poor working conditions. So we take these goods that are right here as a symbol, sort of an indicator of this sort of unhealthy global economy that's happening right now. So I think the question is where is the government and where is the regulation that's happening? We need to, as citizens, stand up, hold our government officials accountable to what it is that's coming into our ports. We have to hold them accountable to the different free trade negotiations that they're putting themselves, that they're allowing to pass.
Yeah. Next we have Elizabeth Swagger from Sweat Free Northwest Campaign.
We're here today to talk about the devastating impact of trade policies that put corporate interests before the interest of those in our communities and abroad. This impact is reflected in the 6 million toys that have been recalled for high levels of lead and the ever-declining working conditions that you see in manufacturing. Sweatshops are a deliberate result of trade rules and industry relations that reward low wages and worker exploitation, as well as reduce environmental regulations and product safety. Now it's time to ask our elected officials to support trade policies that put people before profit. The Sweat Free Northwest campaign works to secure fair city and state purchasing for local communities for uniforms that our workers in our community are wearing. Companies that are willing to severely exploit workers are often willing to cut corners when it comes to materials, product design, and other areas that impact product safety. Putting an end to sweatshops is not just about workers' rights. It's also crucial for the health and safety of consumers. Today we can show that we care about the conditions by which our products that we buy in our stores are made by asking Senator Gordon Smith to support the U.S. Food and Responsibility Act. I want to thank the United Steelworkers for raising this important issue and helping protect our families that are being poisoned with unsafe products. Short-sighted trade policies are bad for workers and bad for consumers alike. Gordon Smith, we want you to know that cheap goods should not come at the expense of our communities.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next we have Arthur Stomelis, the Director of Oregon Fair Trade Campaign. And I just want to add really quick, Arthur was instrumental in helping put this thing together. He was a great help to me, and especially in the press area. He's got a lot of experience there, so thank you, Arthur.
Morning, everybody. Again, my name is Arthur Stomelis. I direct the Oregon Fair Trade Campaign, a coalition of labor, environmental, human rights organizations fighting to improve the nation's trade policy. I want to thank Ron and the Steelworkers for hosting this important event today. Thanks to all of you for being out here in the cold. We've heard a lot in recent months about dangerous product recalls, but what we haven't heard so much about is the connection between consumer safety and trade policy. I think everyone here knows just how harmful NAFTA and the WTO have been to working people in this country. We've seen literally millions of U.S. manufacturing jobs shift abroad because of those trade pacts. And now we're beginning to recognize that the same policies that are costing us jobs, that are causing wages to stagnate, they're also putting us and our families at risk as consumers. Let me talk for just a minute about toy manufacturing. In the 1970s, 90% of the toys sold in this country were made in this country. Today, the opposite is true. 90% of the toys sold on our shelves are imported, and because of our trade policy, they're primarily imported from China. The average toy manufacturing worker in China makes 36 cents an hour. That's 2.5% of what a toy manufacturing worker in this country makes, and in fact, it's less than half of what a manufacturing worker in other developing countries makes. There's a very specific incentive for toy makers not only to ship jobs out of this country, but to ship them into China. And let me tell you something. This is costing us a lot more than jobs. In less than 5 years, we've seen a 224% increase in the number of toy recalls and an over 700% increase in the value of toy recalls. In 2007, 94% of the toys recalled in this country were made in China. And it's interesting to note that recalls because of design flaws, because of how they were actually designed on paper as opposed to how they were made in the factory, those are pretty proportionally spread out among toys made in the United States, made in China, made in other countries. What China is responsible for in a very disproportionate way are products recalled because they contain toxic chemicals, particularly lead paint. And you're not going to see toys recalled for lead paint very often in this country because environmentalists and consumer advocates have been working for decades to get lead paint banned and to make sure that our government enforces that ban. So whether you're talking about toy recalls or dog food recalls or toothpaste recalls or circuit board recalls or any of these other recalls we keep hearing about, it's important to remember this isn't just some fluke. This increase in recalls is the very predictable result of shifting manufacturing from this country to countries that don't have or don't enforce the same consumer product safety regulations that we deem so critical. And so, right now, Congress is considering a Bush administration proposal to expand the NAFTA model of trade into another country, Colombia. Someone's handing out leaflets. I hope all of you will call your members of Congress, urge them to oppose the Colombia Free Trade Agreement. Congress needs to stop that trade deal, needs to stop the NAFTA model of trade, and it needs to get to work fixing all the problems that have been caused by past trade agreements. Let me also say that Congress needs to fund the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the Food and Drug Administration, these other agencies that are responsible for making sure that the products sold on U.S. store shelves are safe no matter where they're made. Because we can't blame China for the defunding of these agencies. It's U.S. corporations, U.S. retailers that have consistently fought to get product safety testing defunded in this country. And obviously, Congress should also pass and support, and Senator Smith should co-sponsor the Food and Product Responsibility Act. We need to hold corporations responsible. If they want to go and take advantage of sweatshop labor in some other country and import products here, inevitably you're going to have consumer safety issues. And we need to make sure that the money's there to handle the recall, to handle the health problems that come up, to handle the product disposal, because you can't just throw the lead paint products out in the trash now. And so, again, I want to thank all of you for being here. The message today is very simple. Cheap products have a big cost in terms of jobs and consumer safety. Thank you for helping us send that message to Congress.
Thank you, Arthur. Next, I'd like to welcome Matt Wallace from Augsburg.
Hi, everybody. I don't have a lot of time behind a bullhorn, but anyway, thanks for everybody, of course, for being out here in the cold. I'd like to thank Ron for, of course, bringing this event together and also serving as a first-rate mic stand. But my name is Matt Wallace. I work with Augsburg, the Oregon State Public Interest Research Group. We're a statewide, nonprofit, nonpartisan public interest advocacy organization. And we're here today, obviously, to call for action on the issue of product safety. We've heard some great reasons so far why the Senate should pass and why Senator Smith should support the Food and Product Responsibility Act that would really put incentives in place to make sure that corporations that are bringing imported goods into this country, realize that if they're going to do that, they have to have the money available to pay for a recall if that occurs. And that's a great way to make sure that we bring, real incentives to bear to make these products safe when they get in here. I'd also like to focus some of my comments on another proposal that's currently before Congress and is awaiting action, and that's action to reform the Consumer Product Safety Commission, which is in many ways the little agency that couldn't, and is the one that's responsible for inspecting and approving safety for over 15,000 consumer products that come into this country, everything from chainsaws to toys. And over the last year, as you all know, we've seen millions of toys and products recalled, everything from Thomas the Tank Engines to Barbies to Curious George. But we haven't seen the ends of the recalls yet. Augsburg's November 2007 Trouble in Toyland report actually led to yet another recall of a toy that was responsible for small magnetic hazards. And we have, continue to see more products continue to be recalled, and the result is that we need to take action now to really enforce product safety. Just before Christmas, the U.S. House of Representatives responded to public demands for greater toy safety with legislation to reform the Consumer Product Safety Commission, but the Senate has not yet taken the opportunity to finish the job and move forward with their legislation, the CPSC Reform Act of 2007. Any bill that goes to the President's desk on this issue must give the CPSC more authority to really take action against offenders and increase fines up in the range of $100 million. We need to ban lead in children's products completely. We need to bring lead down to trace amounts and no more, as recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics. We also need to increase transparency in the process and make sure that corporations that manufacture these toys don't have control over where the public gets to know about the dangers presented by the products that they're manufacturing and selling. So those are other additional issues and additional facets that work into this very important overall campaign to increase product safety in the U.S. And thanks again for coming out and enduring the cold on this important thing.
Thank you, Matt. And before I introduce our next speaker, I just want to expand on Mac's comments just a little bit and point out all these signs that you guys are holding are individual recalls from the CPSC. I downloaded this information from the internet. The oldest one is from September of last year. These are all products that have been recalled in the last 4 months. Most of them are lead paint. There are a couple others. There's actually one out there that caused 2 separate children to enter into a coma, one of them for over 5 days from swallowing tainted parts of the product. So, that's really something to fathom, that every single product here is less than a 4-month-old recall. That being said, some of these products sat on the shelves as dangerous items in the hands of our kids for over 4 years before they were finally recalled. So stop and think about how well our kids were exposed to this
danger before anything was even done. And then also ask yourself, how many of you have heard of any of these products being recalled? So stop and think about how many parents still have these items in their household and haven't heard the recall information. So with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Graham Trainer, from the Director of Working America in Oregon.
Thanks everybody for being here. Again, my name is Graham Trainer. I'm the Director of Working America here in Oregon. And on behalf of our 2 million members nationally and over 40,000 members here in Oregon, I would like to thank you for being here and supporting the Toxic Trade National Day of Action. It's really exciting. Thanks, Ron, and the United Steelworkers. Working America, for those who don't know, is the community affiliate of the AFL-CIO. Our mission is to reach out to non-union workers, giving non-union workers a voice who have been left out of the American labor movement. Many people we talk with would like to be in a union. They just can't. So we allow them, based on an issue advocacy campaign, to get involved with an organization standing up for working family values. Just to put it into perspective, 70% of our members, and this speaks to our political power, 70% of our members identify themselves as moderates to conservatives, and 30% are gun owners. Yet 76% of our members still vote for the union-endorsed candidate. Obviously this is because of the level of engagement that our members have with the organizers, the professional organizers that we have. A little shout out for the organizers that are all here. And also, our members take action by writing a letter, calling an elected official, collecting stories about some of our issues. And the issues we focus on are economic pocketbook issues, education, healthcare, jobs, outsourcing, and of course trade, which brings us here today. And our strength in numbers really allows us to fight for good jobs and a just economy. Now, with the issue of toxic trade, our members are very concerned about toxic trade and safety. Just within a few days of hearing about the national event, taking part in it, being asked to take part in it, our program generated over 70 handwritten letters to Gordon Smith, which I'm handing here and will be delivering to the senator momentarily. 70 handwritten letters calling and demanding safety standards and regulations with our trade policies. Our members are calling for legislation that toughens our trade laws and product safety regulations. And this is an issue that needs to be addressed immediately to protect our children, as we all know. So I want to leave you with a few things. First of all, thank you again for coming to this fantastic event. It's cold, and really appreciate all the support. Thanks to the United Steelworkers. Thank you for raising your voice in support of working families. And I want to finish with a quote by Terry Tempest Williams. The eyes of the future are looking back at us, and they are praying for us to see beyond our time. I want to thank you all for seeing beyond our own time and caring about the safety of our future generations.
Thank you, Matt. And last, I'm proud to introduce Tom Chamberlain, the president of the Oregon State AFL-CIO, who also, always gives a wonderful speech, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Isn't it cold out here today? It is cold out here today. But you know what? It's not as cold as the heart of the Bush administration. Let me tell you something. You know what? I read in the paper today that the Bush administration is going to veto the Mine Safety Act. Going to veto the Mine Safety Act. You know, he threatened to veto the Employee Free Choice Act. And his National Labor Relations Board is denying millions of workers the right to join a union. And you know, we have as many trade agreements in this country as there's letters in the alphabet. You know, trade agreements that exploit workers. Trade agreements that doesn't care about the environment. Trade agreements about profit at all costs, and nothing is enforced with these trade agreements. You know, this toy recall, 6 million toys, sort of opens the door and lets us look into the soul of the multinational corporate world. You know what? It's a world that doesn't care about us. It's a world that doesn't care about our kids. It's a world that cares about profit at all costs, and everybody else can go to hell. You know what I say? Go to hell, multinational corporations. We've had enough of you. And we're going to ask Gordon Smith, Senator Smith, to break with his Republican cronies, to support this legislation, to put America first, not corporations. America first, not corporations. America first, not corporations. America others. We're going to send up a delegation to give the petitions, the letters to Senator Smith's staff. So thank you so much for being here today.
I think I warmed up some, Tom.
There was a slight change in the program. There's limited staff in the Senator's office, so security will not let us enter the building. But
Big surprise.
we did talk to security, and they are going to send a representative down that we can present our information to.
He paid for his office. He can't even go up and see him.